Ah, the belly button, nature's little leftover from our first eviction notice. That odd crater or proud little bump sitting smack in the middle of our bellies, quietly gathering lint like it's preparing for winter. Most of us barely notice it unless it starts itching, smelling funky, or producing enough fuzz to knit a sweater. But hold on to your waistbands, folks, because behind that tiny hole lies a weird world of science involving bacteria, rogue t-shirt fibers, and, believe it or not, cheese-making experiments. Yes, your navel might just be the most bizarre part of your body you never knew deserved its own documentary. A scientist and his lint obsession. Let's start our journey with a man named Georg Steinhauser, a scientist who, at the turn of the 21st century, found himself tormented by a puzzling question. Why do some belly buttons collect more lint than others, while most of us might have simply shrugged and moved on with our lives? Steinhauser was not like most people. No, he was determined to get to the bottom of this mystery, and so began his peculiar quest, which involved collecting and analyzing belly button lint samples for a hopping 3 years. That's right, 3 years of lint collecting dedication. Not one to rely solely on personal experience. Steinhauser also quizzed his friends, meticulously catalogued 503 lint samples from his own navel, and turned his apartment into what was likely the world's first home laboratory for belly button fluff. After this heroic commitment to science, Steinhauser made a surprising discovery. The secret culprit behind belly button lint is stomach hair. That's right, those tiny hairs around your abdomen act like miniature brooms, brushing fibers off your t-shirt and funneling them directly toward your belly button. It's essentially a well-coordinated fiber transportation system, one that would make any logistics company green with envy. The belly button. Before we move any further, let's zoom out for a moment and answer a fundamental question. What even is a belly button? Your belly button, or navel, is actually your very first scar, a tiny souvenir from your earliest days of existence. It forms when doctors snip your umbilical cord shortly after birth, severing the connection between you and your mother's lifeline. Depending on how the skin heals, you'll either sport an innie or, less commonly, an outie. Statistically, most people end up with an innie, which, as you'll soon discover, becomes a perfect little hideout for all sorts of strange invaders. The wild world inside your navel. If you thought belly button lint was the weirdest thing lurking inside your navel, brace yourself. Things are about to get a lot more microbial. In a fascinating study, scientists recruited 60 volunteers and asked them to swab their belly buttons. What they found was nothing short of astonishing. Over 2,300 distinct species of bacteria living in those tiny abdominal craters. To put that into perspective, that's an average of 67 different types of bacteria per belly button. Yes, your navel is basically a thriving microbial metropolis. Some of these bacteria are fairly ordinary residents of the human body. For instance, Staphylococcus, a common bacterium that can lead to staph infections, was found hanging out in many navels, as well as in noses, throats, and hair. It's like the neighborhood busybody who insists on showing up at every community event. But things got weirder. Researchers also discovered bacteria that had never been seen on human skin before. For example, Marimonas, a bacterium previously only found in ocean water, somehow managed to take up residence inside human belly buttons. Apparently, the ocean isn't quite as far away as we thought. And then there's the cheese bacteria, belly button cheese. Believe it or not, some adventurous scientists took their belly button research to an entirely new level. They made cheese from belly button bacteria. Yes, you read that right. One particularly curious researcher swabbed her navel, grew the bacteria in a petri dish like a proud microbial gardener, and then added it to milk. The result: a genuine chunk of what can only be described as belly button brie. The milk curdled, the cheese formed, and humanity collectively cringed. Whether anyone was brave or foolish enough to taste this biological masterpiece remains a mystery best left unsolved. But one thing's for sure, your belly button is not just collecting lint, it's secretly moonlighting as a potential dairy factory. Suddenly, string cheese doesn't sound so appetizing, does it? When belly buttons go rogue, for the most part, the bacteria chilling in your belly button are like harmless little roommates. They mind their own business and might even help protect your skin, acting like microscopic security guards. But here's where things take a turn. If you neglect your navel hygiene, be honest, When's the last time you actually scrubbed in there? Those tiny tenants can turn into an unruly mob. Soon you might catch a suspicious whiff wafting up from your belly, courtesy of bacteria like Corynebacterium, which produce a stench eerily similar to body odor. But the party doesn't stop at funky smells, oh no. Your belly button can become a full-blown microbial rave, inviting staph, streptococcus, and even yeast infections to join the chaos. That's right, yeast infections aren't just for the usual suspects. Your navel can host one too, leading to redness, itching, and a discharge that looks unsettlingly like cottage cheese. Suddenly, cleaning your belly button sounds a lot more important, doesn't it? The hidden threat of belly button hernias. As if belly button bacteria and lint weren't enough, your navel has yet another sneaky surprise. Hernias. Back when you were just a tiny tenant in your mom's womb, your umbilical cord threaded through a small gap in your abdominal muscles, acting like your personal life support cable. Normally, this gap seals up after birth, but sometimes it doesn't close completely, leaving a weak spot where your insides can rudely poke through, forming what doctors call an umbilical hernia. In fact, about 1 in 5 newborns in the US experience this little hiccup, though thankfully, most of these cases fix themselves without much fuss. For adults though, hernias can be a bit more dramatic, sometimes requiring surgery if organs start slipping through like uninvited guests at a house party. Left untreated, these bulging belly button invaders can go from mildly annoying to dangerously life-threatening in no time. So guess even your navel has its own secret set of drama. The secret to a happy belly button. Now that we've likely convinced you to inspect your belly button like a crime scene, here's the good news. Keeping it happy is surprisingly easy. No need for fancy gadgets or belly button spa days, though you just know someone's selling that on the internet. Just give it a gentle wash with warm, soapy water once or twice a week. Simple, painless, and drama-free. The real magic happens afterward. Make sure to dry it thoroughly, because a damp navel is basically an open invitation for bacteria and yeast to throw a wild party. And trust me, you don't want your belly button hosting any uninvited guests. Fun belly button facts to impress or gross out your friends. As we wrap up this wild belly button adventure, here are some fun and slightly horrifying facts you can drop at your next party if you want people to back away slowly. First off, if you've got an innie, congratulations, you're with the cool 90% majority, thanks to genetics. That lint you keep finding. Yep, it usually matches your outfit, because your stomach hair is basically a professional fiber magnet. And brace yourself, if you let hygiene slide, bugs might decide your navel makes a cozy yikes. On the bright side, you can actually donate your belly button bacteria to science. In fact, there's a whole belly button diversity project where scientists study the bizarre microbial zoo living in navels around the world. Your belly button is officially weirder and busier than you ever imagined. If you enjoyed this weird, wonderful journey into the world of belly buttons, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It helps keep the belly button cheese away. Hit that subscribe button for more bizarre science you never knew you needed. And hey, ring the bell so you never miss your next dose of oddly fascinating facts.